America has always been a land of contradictions, a country built on the promise of freedom, yet divided by race, hate, and injustice. In 1971, in Durham, North Carolina, two people lived on opposite sides of that divide. One was Ann Atwater, a fearless black activist fighting for her community. The other was C.P. Ellis, the leader of the local Ku Klux Klan. They were sworn enemies, destined never to agree. But what happened next shocked an entire nation. This is the true story of how hatred turned into an unlikely friendship and how two ordinary people helped change history. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Durham, North Carolina, 1971. Black and white children lived in the same city, but in very different worlds. Black students were crowded into old, crumbling schools with broken desks and outdated books. Meanwhile, across town, white children studied in clean classrooms with new supplies. The city was tense, and anger was building. Something had to give. In the heart of the black community stood Ann Atwater. Strong, fearless, and determined, she had spent years fighting for fair housing, education, and civil rights. To many, she was a hero. To others, a threat. Ann never backed down from speaking the truth, no matter who stood in her way. On the other side was C.P. Ellis. He was poor, struggling to provide for his family, but he found power in the Ku Klux Klan. As president of the local chapter, Ellis preached hate, blaming black Americans for the struggles of poor whites. His Klan card was his identity, his shield, and his weapon, and Ann Atwater was his #1 enemy. But fate had other plans. In 1971, Durham faced a heated battle over school integration. To find a solution, city leaders called for a special meeting known as a charrette, 10 days of community discussions. To everyone's shock, Ann Atwater and C.P. Ellis were chosen as co-chairs, two sworn enemies forced to work side by side. From the very beginning, the tension was clear. Ellis sat stiff in his chair, arms crossed, glaring. Ann shot back with fiery words, defending her community. Neither trusted the other. Each believed they could never be anything but enemies. The room was heavy with anger, distrust, and old wounds. But as the days went by, something began to shift. Ellis listened as black parents described the pain of watching their children suffer in broken schools. He watched Ann comfort a young mother who couldn't afford books for her kids. And then he thought of his own family, his disabled son, his struggles with poverty, his feeling of being left behind by the powerful. Slowly, the walls he had built began to crack. One night, Ellis finally spoke, his voice softer than before. He said, "You know, they keep us poor too. While we're busy fighting each other, the rich get richer." For the first time, Ann looked at him not as an enemy, but as a man trapped in the same broken system she had fought all her life. On the final day of the charrette, Ellis did something unthinkable. In front of the entire room, he pulled out his Ku Klux Klan membership card. He looked at it one last time, then tore it into pieces. Gasps filled the room, and then silence. Ellis spoke. "I can't live with hate anymore. From today, I stand with Ann." The room erupted. Ann watched, tears in her eyes, as the man who once hated her most chose to walk beside her. From that day forward, Ann Atwater and C.P. Ellis were no longer enemies. They became close friends, sharing meals, speaking at events, and fighting for justice together. Their unlikely bond showed the world that even the deepest hatred could be overcome by understanding and courage. Ann and C.P.'s story reminds us of a simple truth. We are stronger together than we are apart. They began as enemies divided by race, but ended as friends united by humanity. In a time of darkness, they lit a candle of hope and proved that change is always possible. This was their story, and it still speaks to us today.